Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to a brand new week of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. It is so good to have you here as we get ready for Gio Turner. We're going to talk crop circles tonight. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. You're going to be very impressed with his mustache. If you've never seen him before, his mustache, that is a lip blade that is sharp. I'd hate to be any food going into his mouth because it will cut it up just like that. He doesn't need a steak knife. He just needs that blade to cut it up. It's beautiful. I love Gio. We're going to have a good time with him tonight. Dirty Filth is here with another crazy cartoon. And the best part about tonight, we have each and every one of you, including Kitty Caddywhack with the gold medal tonight, Race Fan with a silver, SJ with a bronze medal. Let's say hello to Hippie Deidre and her Birkenstocks, because no matter what the temperature, she's always got her Birkenstocks on. Road Flare, Little Timmy James. How you doing? And who else is here? Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You don't want any of that rigidness. And so thank you, Mel, for lubing us up tonight. Mama Catherine, mwah, I love you, Mama Catherine. You're the best. And thank you for the lovely text message this morning. I hope we're going to have a good show for you tonight. I know we will. I promise you. Zed Hut, how you doing? Eternity Eternal. Nice to see you. Ethanol is here. Ethanol will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. T-Bone, my man, good to have you back again. That's 2 nights in a row. I'm happy about that. Makes me feel all warm and fuzzy inside. Love the T-Bone. Karen in the Woo Train, good to see you. And who else do we have here? JMJ12, thanks for coming on in. Good morning, Major Lee. Laura Lobbs is here. Laura Lobbs will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio if you don't mind. To the right of the studio. Tim's like pointing. You know, he's like the theater escort. He's got his light pointing where to go. All right, Frankie B, how you doing? And Super Crazy, good to see you. Walter, how's it going, my friend? Necessary Dialogue. Paul Demon, Round and Round, Rat. That's a good song. I love that guitar solo, especially when the second guitar joins them. Oh, that's nice. Pam Harris, good to see you. Corey, what's happening, my friend? And Brad Ford, thank you for joining us. Al Garay over on Twitch. So excited about crop circles tonight. 5,000 push-ups in 6 minutes. Yeah, he was like a jackhammer on the floor. Oh, man, I'm tired just thinking about it. Pam Harris, Millennium, my man, Cosmic Joe, Phyllis Boucher, Perry has returned, everybody. Look at that. Hey, Fast Hemi, Scott S., Mennonite Abe, good to see you, my friend. Hi, Susan, Mike Bothwell. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Parasolo, nice to have you here. And who else is next on our list? Well, let's scroll on down. And What in Tarnation has returned. Love that name. I'm Hardcore over on X. Nice to see you. Hi in the studio. Ozzy, good to have you back. Good morning, Ian. And Beelzebrad is here. He has a devil put aside for me. For me. For me. Very nice. Very nice. Thank you. Babylon Rose, Fapster, J Truthseeker, good to see you all. Jerry Carter, thanks for coming on in. Hi there, Digger Dog. Gary Rusin, how you doing? Marty Burback, Sierra, thank you for joining us. Let's get the radio side going. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to have a great show talking crop circles with Gio Turner, author extraordinaire. We're going to get to him momentarily, but first, we are in roll call on our YouTube side, so let us say hello to Paramarv and Desert Rat. How you doing? Emperor Penguin, good to see you. Number 26 in your programs from Stockholm, Sweden, starting at right wing, Lars Janssen. There he is. And I think a Rock and Rory, Bombshell Bomber, good to have you both here. We are caught up there. The super chat is open. It's a wonderful way to start and support our show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Do me a favor, everybody. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I'm your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network, our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out the read the news wire. Check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities, help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Got a great show, different topic tonight. We're talking crop circles. Author Gio Turner is going to be here momentarily to fill us on in. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller is here with another crazy story. We're going to follow that up with Little Timmy James in studio for the UFO report. Now, let's get to tonight's show. Gio Turner never intended on being an author, though always fancied the life of a storyteller. His is a route that winds around lands, spans, and medias. Starting from the realm of graphics, he was snatched away at the start of the new millennia into television advertising. Success trekked him from the U.S. Midwest to the middle of the Pacific. Lots of sharks in between. That's why I'll never go visit them. Garnering several awards in the television field since. With all of that, Gio is quite proud of a bit of dabbling in the comic book industry, and we're with a sci-fi fantasy series. He has been fantastically collaborating with some of the most talented people in the world that he knows, and tonight he's bringing us his research on crop circles. Yeah, how we love this topic. Let's bring him on in. Gio Turner, it's been about a year or so since we had you on Spaced Out Radio last. How you doing, my friend?
Fantastic, David. Thank you so much for having me back again.
Oh, man. How could we not? Mustache like that. Our radio audience can't see it, but Gio has a fantastic mustache. I'm very jealous of it, to be blunt. Very jealous. But you live in the beautiful islands of Hawaii, and unfortunately, I'll never go because I'm petrified of sharks. Petrified. And you're kind of surrounded by them. So that's,
Actually, there's a lovely bay on the other side of the islands where it's a hammerhead shark nursery.
No. Why do that? This isn't a horror flick here. Okay. Now, here's the funny part about my fear of sharks. I love sharks. I think they are beautiful. I think they are just magnificent creatures. But I also know that I'm a meal, okay? I'm not an appetizer. I'm not just a person to bump into. I am a meal. Therefore, I refuse to go anywhere near the ocean because I remember Jaws 3, where they sunk the helicopter, they sunk that boat. Okay. I ain't doing it because with my luck, true story, my luck, I'll take that trek over to Hawaii. And all of a sudden, at 35,000 feet where we're cruising, Jaws is going to jump up, grab the airplane, and bring it on down. That's what's going to happen.
I wonder how the hammerhead sharks are able to target their prey with their eyes on either side of their heads.
That's amazing. It's amazing. See, I watch all the shark shows. I do. I totally watch all of those shark shows, and I love them, except when they're attacking people. Those are the shows I don't watch. But man, do you go swimming with them?
I have yet to see one in the water. I've gone swimming with plenty of turtles.
See, that would be
cool.
Which,
by the way, if you're encountering turtles in the water, you can pretty much expect that there's sharks not too far away.
Yeah, good to know. I guess we're not swimming with turtles now. I had a friend of mine who, his wife was from Guatemala, and they had a property. And he goes, Dave, the one thing you need to understand about Guatemalans is they take everything literally. So he goes, if you tell them you want to go fishing or swimming with the great whites, they don't bring a cage. They just take a boat out there, find the great whites, and say, okay, there they are, go for a swim. Now, they're not trying to get you eaten, but they're just literal people. I'm not doing that. No. All right, let's turn our attention to you, Gio, because we're kind of here for you and not my fear of sharks, of being eaten by one. But you have covered so many different topics with your writings, with your research and everything. And now we brought you back on to talk about crop circles. But let's learn a little bit about you. What brought you and made you get interested in the whole sci-fi, fantasy, and curiosity?
So I started out as a novelist, writing fantasy adventure novels. And when the 2017 New York Times article came out, I was just hit gobsmacked by that. I thought it was something that I had just dismissed out hand. And my fascination with science meant that I couldn't ignore that with new data coming in. I started exploring all that, and I found so much riveting information sets that I was like, someone should put together a guidebook so that most other people could understand what is going on and why this is actually something that's plausible. And I had such success with my physics book that I figured, what's my theoretical physics lacking? It's lacking physical evidence. So why not, for your next book, focus on something you could hold in your hands and examine, hence crop circles.
Yet you love everything from Dungeons and Dragons to sci-fi fantasy, and of course magic in between. I mean, that is such a realm of awesomeness, my friend, that it really allows you to really paint a picture with your imagination.
It helps me visualize a lot of the science as well. So like when I'm contemplating the quantum mechanics of something, I can actually visualize it, and that, which helps me translate into the visuals that goes in the guidebook.
When you are writing, are you actually creating with your mind, or are you creating a movie that you're typing out?
Very good question. Yes. When I'm writing a novel, I do kind of see it as a movie in my head. The interesting part is translating that with my character's emotions into the page. I say one thing that authors have to bring to what they're writing in a good story is a soundtrack, because your soundtrack is how the story feels from page to page.
It's hard for any writer to capture adventure, emotion, the scene, because you have to paint a picture with your words, which many people have difficulty doing. How do you manage to find success in that?
Well, I think I'm pretty well read. I didn't actually get a degree in literature, but I've been working with a lot of other authors in some different meetup groups and such. And it's just listening to my inner voice and putting myself in those shoes in that moment as whatever event is happening and trying to convey that in as few words as possible.
Take me through how you would create a character. How do you choose who they are, what age they are, what color their eyes are, whether they have freckles or not, whether they're, you know, in shape like a ninja would be, or whether they are, you know, an overweight wizard or whatever it may be. How do you create the character and really delve into that?
Um, just recently, I wrote a short story where I wasn't entirely sure with one of my characters who they were. I had just a vague generic notion in my head of this 14-year-old farm boy. And so, in order to do the story that I wanted to do, I needed to make him less two dimensional. So, I actually did what we call discovery writing, where I just kind of, on paper, I conducted an interview with my fictional character, hitting him with all kinds of off the wall questions and just imagining in my mind what would make that character interesting for their replies. And along the way, you kind of get the feel for that new character.
So it's basically creating your own tulpa, where you're creating this person through and giving them a voice.
Yeah. And it sometimes helps if you can visualize. Sometimes you'll visualize a famous actor that you know, or I actually like to take my own friends and bring them into the story and then watch when they read the story without me telling them, see how quickly they pick up on what's going on.
What's your favorite part about telling stories?
Honestly, I enjoy reading the insights from other people that have read my story and they find new interpretations of something I hadn't imagined. And sometimes I get feedback from beta readers, which are a group of people that get to read the story before you release it, where, wow, that's a fantastic idea. I didn't think of that. I'm going to go back and make that change.
So realistically, how often do you read over your books and change things?
You actually, when you're writing a novel, I end up reading, like, even this book, I've read at least 6 times. Because each time you go through another passage, you find something you want to change.
Give us an example of that.
There was a scene in one of my fantasy novels where I tried to go with a more comedic bent to demonstrate some traits between two of my central characters. And I probably carried that a bit too far. And so my editor like came back and said, whoa, whoa, whoa. And I ended up just scrapping the whole chapter and doing something a little darker instead.
Oh my. As a writer, when you get somebody like an editor from a publishing company or whomever who is really, you know, dictating the direction of where you need to go or what you need to do, as a writer, how much is that a shot at your ego? You know, because here you've created this, you're seeing it in your head, and now they're telling you, no, you got to change it.
Absolutely not, because I'm an independent author. I don't work with a publishing house currently. So my editors are people that I know and that I work with and I trust. And so anytime I get feedback, I appreciate it. It's not really, and they can see where I'm going with the story, and they're actually like trying to help me bring out the better parts of it. So I don't usually get into any conflicts with my editors.
I don't blame you then. Lucky
That
you.
was part of the reason I got into writing. So I got so tired of the gatekeeping. I used to pitch animated TV series to different studios in Hollywood, and the gatekeeping there is just so intense. And then I published my comic book called I Mage, which was like an all ages kids book comic series. And going through the gatekeeping there was difficult, but I finally broke through. And when I learned that one of a local author that went independent here on Maui had such success, I'm like, boom, that's what I want to do now. No more gatekeeping. Let me just tell the story I'd like to tell.
How do you define your audience? Like, who are you writing for? Are you writing for yourself to sell us or to tell a story, or are you writing for a specific audience that just would get what you want or get what you're trying to say?
I do write the books that I want to read. So like when I wrote my fantasy series, I characterize it as what if Quentin Tarantino did a Dungeons and Dragons movie. So it's like a very adult, R-rated, violent style sword and sorcery novel. And then when I noticed how some science figures were not stepping up and championing the new UAP evidence that was out there, I was like, well, someone needs to step up and help translate these things into more understandable layperson speak. And given my decades of science nerddom, I was more than happy to do that. So I saw a need and I wanted to have that book. So I made it.
Do you, let me rephrase that. Last time we had you on, you were talking about your book UFO Science that you had put out, really about the entire UFO UAP story and the science behind the plausibilities of what kind of science is hiding within these craft. People can look it up. It's called UFO Science: Secret New Physics, Vehicles, and UAP. It's being sold worldwide. I mean, this is a book that really took a look into the nuts and bolts of everything. And you delved pretty deeply into that. What was the reaction from people once they got a hold of it and read it? What were you trying to teach people?
What I wanted everyone to understand was we've been told this line since my childhood that traveling between different solar systems is impossible. The speed of light is such a limitation that there's just no way to get around it. And like many people, I accepted the science because there wasn't anything to refute it. But when I actually sat down and I started speaking with some of these physicists and I started going through their papers and their research, I was like, hold up, people need to understand that what we've been told is impossible is not impossible any less than, if you go back 200 years and they say if you were meant to fly, you were be born with wings. But we, of course, now just take it for granted. We fly everywhere these days. So I think interstellar travel is along those same lines when it comes to physics. It's quite possible once you understand the principles behind it, then you can accept the reality.
The reality is you believe that there are beings from elsewhere coming through here and visiting this planet for one reason or another.
Yes, pretty much.
And your perception
have been doing so for millennia.
Yeah, your perception of that comes off what you studied, but on an internal, personal level, how do you feel about that?
It's utterly fascinating, and at the same time, I'm confounded by so many aspects of it. There's so many different kind of factions within the UAP UFO sphere. And I try to keep an open mind and listen to what everyone has to offer, and take everything with a grain of salt because nobody apparently has all the answers.
What's your synopsis of it all? What do you think it is?
I'm excited about the possibilities of what may happen in the next, let's say, less than 10 years. I'm envious of my daughters and possibly the kind of world that they might grow up in. I really wished I could one day get to walk onto the deck of the Enterprise while it's trekking around the universe. So I'm eager and hopeful that we can make some new friends. Hopefully.
I think if I were to put it out there, I think, and I put it out there on this show, but I'll put it on a personal level here because I'm an experiencer. I am someone who's had very very close encounters. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I don't like the thought of disclosure because I don't
Okay.
think that my disclosure, what I would perceive as disclosure, which is the true definition of the word disclosure, is the same as any governmental disclosure that would be coming out. And when I think about governmental disclosure, it disappoints me because we, as never mind, the majority of our audience is in the United States, even though I'm in Canada. Uh, Never mind the fact that this is a fun, cool, intriguing topic. There's real world possibilities here. And there are very few stories on this planet
Yeah.
or events that are going to affect every single person. Doesn't matter whether you're in the jungles of Brazil or the concrete jungles of Tokyo or New York. It's going to affect every single person on this planet. And there are very few instances where that's happened. Catastrophic flood would be one. Nuclear holocaust would be another. Aliens, definitely. And the fact that there might be things that are being held on to that they don't think we're good enough, smart enough, brave enough to understand, kind of like herding the cattle. It disappoints me because I do want people to understand that Roswell was real, that what happened to Travis Walton or Betty and Barney Hill was real. And there's all of these real encounters out there that seem to be kind of shoved to the wayside for government disclosure, which means military. And when every time the military's involved, you're never going to get the truth because they don't want to give up their toys and their advancements. So that's where I'm a little disappointed by the prospect of it. Your thoughts? We got about a minute to go.
I do agree with you about government disclosure. I really don't expect that's going to happen at all. Governments, or at least the intelligence agencies, they hold everything close to the vest. I feel more positive about private organizations like the Soul Foundation that are trying to get data on their own. I do see, yes, a equal amount of things to be fearful of and things to hopefully be hopeful for. And until that first contact is made, we really don't know what we're opening up. And even after we first open up that can of worms, we don't know what's going to be on the other side. I want to believe in positive outcomes, but of course there has been some things that have been less than benevolent.
Very true. Gio, I'm going to need you to hold on right there. We are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Author Gio Turner. When we turn the corner, it's crop circles. We're going to get into that here in just a couple minutes' time. Sit back, relax, and think crop circles. Next, Spaced Out Radio. All right, we're clear. That was a good start.
Okay.
Good start. You having fun?
I did have a bit of lag on my end. I wasn't sure if you were getting it on your end.
Yeah, there has been a little bit of lag, but it hasn't made a giant difference.
I could potentially try lowering the resolution on the camera. That might help.
Are you using Google Chrome?
I am, and I'm using a DSLR camera.
Okay. Dirty Filth, is that whiskey or gargoyle or which one is that?
This is the Gremlin.
Gremlin. I knew it was a G. Gremlin alert, everybody. Gremlin alert. Gremlin there trying to. I swear that Gremlin had a conversation with Blob about this.
Yeah. But there's a moth flying around in here, so if it's not the pencil, it's the moth he's after. Isn't that right? A little bit of brain damage because you're orange? Yeah, I love you too, buddy.
Not gonna lie, that's absolutely beautiful. It is. We might have to open the window. It's getting warm in here. Matthew Goodka, how you doing? Good to see you. Gio dropped out. We'll get him back here. MJ, how you doing? We had 4 inches of snow here last night.
A little bit of snow here. It all melted.
Yeah, the roads melted pretty quick. Oh, they were terrible this morning. There he is. Bring him back in here. How you doing, Gary?
Oh, no.
Gary, are you there? We can't hear you.
Yes, I am.
All right. Are you hearing me in real time now?
I was just changing my camera settings. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
I am.
Don't be messing around with that mustache because we need to see that on the air. If you want to zoom in on that, that'd be even better. By the way, happy birthday.
I think I'm good now.
All right. Perfect. Happy birthday to one of our resident wrenches, Tim Mothman and his goatee. Nice. You want to come over and sing happy birthday? All right. All right.
Outstanding.
All right. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. There we go. Beautiful. There we go. Mark Sanchez and his collection of Hawaiian shirts. How you doing? How's the battle, buddy? Give me an update. All right. Sierra, does Tim live with you, Dave? No, he lives about, what are you, about 3 miles away?
Yeah.
About 3 miles, maybe 3.5 miles.
That question's been asked a few times in the last
Yeah. All right. We have about 1 minute, Gary. 1 minute.
Okay.
Kurt M., how you doing?
What are we sketching?
Crop circles. All right. Oh, he finished it.
Oh.
He'll show it off at the break. All right. Still waiting for our first super chat of the night, but that's okay if you don't. I'm okay with that. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. And yeah, we're coming back in like 8 seconds. Xanos, how are you? Here we go in the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. We always appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Author, researcher, Gio Turner is here. If you want his website, it's gioturnerwrites.com. And we're going to talk crop circles here. Gio, thank you for joining us again. What got you interested in crop circles? Why did you tackle this subject?
Well, two reasons. One, like I mentioned previously, is the physical evidence that can be sampled and examined in a laboratory. That definitely made it different than just theoretical. And the other reason was it gave me an excuse to go to England.
That's a long flight from Hawaii, man. I'm just thinking that. You got 4 hours to the mainland. Then you land in LA. Now you got, well, Hawaii's that way. It's that way. It's, southeast of us. We're pretty high up. But then you got 5 hours across the continent to New York. And then you go New York or Chicago.
It's generally about 5 to 6 hours to LA, and then another 13 hours to Switzerland. And then I would take a 1 hour flight from Switzerland to England.
I'd do that. I would do that because except crossing the Atlantic. Then you got that shark thing, and you're braver than me. But what makes you believe that this is a phenomena that we're not investigating enough of?
Ooh, that's a very good question. So there have been some studies done on crop circles by some people that are respected within the crop circle community, or some of them. There's the BLT research team, which is the most famous one. And I went over some of their work, and also talked to some opponents of their work, and tried to weigh the data sets for both and report accurately. I don't try to tell my readers what is true and what isn't true. I would much rather just give them the facts and let everyone make their own interpretations. But I do, of course, include some of my own feedback throughout the book.
For people who may not know what it is, what is a crop circle?
So a crop circle is basically any kind of cereal grain. You have barley or wheat, oats on rare occasions, and also something called rapeseed, which is basically canola oil. And also occasionally grass can be formed into crop circles.
How do we think they're made?
So I'll be up front. The vast majority of crop circles are created using a rope and board method by us. And I show many, many examples of man-made crop circles throughout the book. Plenty of photographs of different crop circles. They've been done for various purposes.
So it's not just aliens?
It's not just aliens, but we all know it's that. So when we look at UAP and UFOs in the atmosphere, and everyone reports them to MUFON or wherever, we know that the vast majority of those reports can often be attributed to everyday misinterpretations. It could be a plane or Starlink satellites going overhead. It can be atmospheric cloud effects. It could be Venus. Sometimes we've heard those excuses, but we're really not interested in those ones that can quickly and easily be dismissed. Everyone's much more interested in that less than 10% class of UAP that are reported. And the same holds true for crop circles. The vast majority of crop circles can be man-made, but really the ones that we're interested in are the ones that are more questionable.
So what makes it look like it's more questionable rather than man-made?
So the most I looked at a lot of the evidence, and some of it is quasi interesting. The ones that are the most intriguing actually deal mainly with the effects of microwave energy. So some crop circles have been theorized as being created using microwave energy, not dissimilar to what comes out of your oven at home. And it will heat up the stalks of these crops and cause them to fall. And if it directed in a certain way, they'll all fall in an intended swathe in a pattern. So the evidence that potentially upholds that is when you can examine some of the stalks, you will find the pulvini, the apical nodes within some of these crops, which are these little knuckles that appear throughout different stages of the stems. The ones on the upper end of the stalks will actually heat up, and because they're still in a growth stage, they're a little more flexible, and they'll actually begin to stretch away from the heat source and cause it to lean that direction. But if it's also at the near the base of the stalk, it's a much more rigid, hardened node down there, and that one will tend to blow like a popcorn kernel.
Okay, so the idea that the majority of these, as you just stated, are being made by people, I find that very hard to believe, because a lot of the crop circles you would see trails out. Like, give you an example. If I go into the forest and I go into a marshy area here, that's probably the best example I could give. If a deer walks through it, or a moose, or some sort of animal walks through that, it's going to leave a trail, whether it's footprints or whether it's grass knocked down in the area. Yet in a lot of these crop circles, we don't see that human footprint trail exiting at times. Now, there's some that are pretty obvious because they cut through tractor paths, which if you can make your way with the boards to the tractor path, that's obviously going to be pretty easy to understand. But for a lot of them that are in the middle of a hay field or a barley field that show no track, how do they get out?
So if you look at, I do cover all of those topics in the guidebook. If you look at all crops have tram lines where the tractors and harvesters can move through and do their work. So all crop circles are coinciding with those tram lines. Most of the time, those crop circles are formed right over top of a tram line. So they have an easy way in and an easy way out. The interesting ones that I do note in the book there are these satellite circles. Now, the satellite circles are much smaller and tend to be around the outside of the main crop circle. And I do agree with you. Moving through a crop without disturbing it is very, very hard. I say in the book, it's akin to like walking across a pristine snowfield and then trying to cover your tracks afterwards. No matter what you do to try and smooth over that snow, people will tell it's not the same. So just moving between the blades of different, wheat stems and stuff will disturb it and leave a trail 99% of the time.
Who does these? Have you met somebody who, or talked to people who actually makes these?
Yes, there are definitely well-trained individuals that the one of the things that I will say, backing up a little bit, is looking at the statistical analysis of all these different crop circles. I've created charts within the book where it shows the distribution of crop circles around the globe, as well as the frequency of occurrences over the last 50, 60 years. And so part of the reasoning behind the huge explosion of crop circles is a bit of being in the zeitgeist in its heyday in the from the 90s through the 2000s, when it became extremely popular. And that's when it got extra creative and people started creating these outlandish, amazing works. As for people doing it, yes, there are teams that are well known within the groups. There are the circle makers, and there are I know Francesco Grassi is out of Italy. I've spoken with him, and he's an extremely talented crop circle maker. And there's also Dave and Doug, which were the original old blokes from England that took credit for the original crop circles.
It's easy when somebody comes out and says, hey, we do this. We do this to play tricks on people. We do it because we love it. We do it because we're creating art or whatever it may be. But these have been noticed and recorded for thousands of years. And I can't see someone in the like 500 years ago, 400 years ago, getting in a drunken stupor and saying, hey, let's go put some boards on our feet and go create these incredibly mathematical patterns that look amazing from up above on a mountain or a hillside. I just don't see that. Maybe
some of these crop circles are just stunning works that boggles the mind. I don't dissuade any of that. The initial crop circles that were created prior to the 1990s were simple circles and straight lines. And prior to that, if you go back to the 50s and 60s, and even you go back to the 1600s, they were simple circles. And that was the understanding in the early 70s, was these were UFO nests, that a UFO had landed here and left its impression in the crop and then flown away, leaving a perfect circle. But as its popularity grew and the creative folks came in, it began to transform and take on new levels of complexity.
Well, that's what I'm saying, like it always seems to get bigger. And, I mean, you even look at what we're seeing online now. I mean, even with YouTube videos, I mean, you go back and watch some of the most popular videos from even 3-4 years ago, they look so amateur compared to where those people are now in regards to editing and AI and the usage of everything with cameras. So, I mean, I can see where you're going with that. People always want to try and develop a system to get bigger, get better, get more accurate and more profound. But
Along those lines,
okay.
I actually, one of the circles I cite in the book does the opposite of that. So there was one of the lesser known crop circles. It was one called the basket. And it was like this 250 foot diameter crop circle creation where it was woven. Instead of just a regular flat circle, there was this interlacing pattern of wheat as it went all the way around until it formed like 9 separate baskets of crop circles. And this pattern was so intricate, it was mind-boggling. And what was impressive about that was it was created in 1999, and it was off the charts in complexity and precision. And the interesting part was it was the first one that was woven like that. And since then, there has been several other crop circles that have also been woven, but their level of complexity was nothing by comparison to the first one. So rather than upping their game with each consecutive circle, it was like we had this fantastic basket, and then we had a bunch of 3s and 4s and 6s trying to work their way back up to a 10, which that doesn't normally happen. Usually it starts with you start at your 1s, 2s, and 3s and work up to a 10.
Is there a ranking system like with this 1, 2, 3 up to 10?
Well, I'm just saying like levels of complexity on a scale of 1 to 10. I would consider the basket like a 10, and the ones that followed up afterwards were like 4s and 5s and 6s. So it's like either somebody did some masterpiece out of the basket, excuse the pun, and everyone else is just trying to follow along, or there was something unique about this circle.
How long does it take to create a crop circle? Because we always hear about these things, coming out at night. A farmer goes to bed, at say 9 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. He comes back from working in his field, goes out to his field in the morning, and boom, it's there.
Yeah, that was one of the aspects I enjoyed working on, is I made calculations. I put together, after speaking with some of these professional crop circle makers, I put together a mathematical formula, which I put into the book, where you can examine the crops and determine how many man hours it takes to create that crop circle. So using a baseline so I'll back up a little bit. Your average person, let's say we wanted to create a 50-foot diameter crop circle. Your average person might take anywhere between a half an hour, like 45 minutes to an hour, to make a 50-foot diameter crop circle, where a professional crop circle maker who's had loads and nights of experience, lots of experience, can probably make that same crop circle in about 20 minutes. So what I did was I factored in how many square feet is in a crop circle that's 50-foot diameter, and I use that as my baseline. And then I examine all the volume of the different kind of crop circles, and I can work out using that formula how many man hours it would take to create that said crop circle. Then I look at how many hours are available at that particular night previous to when it was discovered. And quite often the nights in England are quite short during harvest season. They can be anywhere between 5 to 4 hours of darkness. So it's amazing what can be achieved if you have enough people.
Now, so you're telling me there's groups of these people that maybe hit the pub beforehand and then go out and let's go create a crop circle tonight and mess everybody up that the aliens are coming.
Well, the guys that are pros at it, they don't drink beforehand because they don't want to be leaving any evidence behind from the pub for everyone to whiff up around there.
True, but it just sounds if you include the pub.
Well, of course. That's what Doug and Dave would do. And it would also be evidenced by some of the circles that Doug and Dave did because they were kind of like,
I get that. I can appreciate that. We got 3.5 minutes to go before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. We're talking crop circles with Gio Turner tonight. I want to ask you about this because I remember when the movie Signs came out by M. Night Shyamalan. And that movie to this day, there's a couple things that I remember about it. Do you remember the scene where the aliens are talking, they can hear them? I actually heard that in my backyard and up my driveway one day when it was really weird. Very, very weird. I'm listening to this.
It is amazing how much Hollywood seems to get some kind of back thread of information that is woven into their tales. If you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, it is just completely saturated with real information all throughout there.
I often wonder if there's insiders tipping them off too. Has to be.
Yeah, if you look at Bryce Zabel, he was approached by people within intelligence agencies when his TV series Dark Skies was airing, where they were like, would you like us to give you some help in making your story a little more realistic?
Good old Bryce. Good old Bryce. I think that would scare the daylights out of me.
I could tell you some. I cover the movie Signs in this guidebook.
So the reason why I bring up Signs is because many people I know where I grew up in the Lower Mainland, about an hour east of Vancouver, there's a lot of farming communities there. And then after the movie Signs came out, when it was in the theaters, all of a sudden these crop circles kept on popping up all over the place in fields, and it became a little bit of a trendy thing for teenagers and young adults to do is, go hide into a cornfield and, press over the stalk to make it look like there's aliens there. And, go figure, one of the scenes in Signs is these aliens going through the corn or the cornfields, so could it be, or was there an increase in popularity of creating crop circles because of the movie Signs?
There was definitely some carry-on effect after the movie. The fascinating part was the crop circles that led up to the movie Signs and around when the movie was released.
And since then, maybe some of them continued?
Well, some of the most famous ones were created as an attempt to promote the movie.
I did not know that.
Yes.
So,
and if you like, we could cover that right after the break if you want, or
I think that's pretty incredible because, we want to make sure that, people are getting the right thing because, I don't, as you stated, there's a small percentage that you believe that are actually unresolved. And yet the majority of them are easy to explain, which still blows my mind. It baffles me so much, Gio, that I don't know if it's sitting right with me to even think that. But that's quite okay. I mean, you're the evidence guy here, and I'm just a guy who wants to believe. But I'm going to get you to hold on right here because we are going to go to break. We're going to talk about the movie Signs and crop circles when we return on Spaced Out Radio on Gio Turner website. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. All right, we are clear. Gio, we got about 6 minutes here. I'm going to turn things over to the dirty one right here. And if you want to hang out or grab a drink or whatever you got to do for a couple minutes, now's the time to do it.
Okay, yeah, I'll go refill my drink.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hey, Dirty.
Dirty Filth, it's all yours, buddy.
Me. I had to sip my tea. I'm currently, whoops, oh geez, what I pushed. I'm currently making some little tiny drawings, so I can have some stickers. Here's some of the other ones: Sasquatch, some flowers, spooky Halloween one. Haven't decided what I'm doing with this one. This is a Tic Tac UFO, but you can't really see it because it's down here.
Down to get a drink in between.
And then the Nightcrawler with his girlfriend. Oh, excuse me.
It's all the lights off.
And then also a
Hello.
TR3B. Oops. Uh-oh.
Okay.
Yes.
Is Ryan in the shower?
What is that, Phil? That's the TR3B. There we go. Black triangle. Yes. So I'm going to make a whole bunch of stickers out of them because you just hand out stickers to my pals. Yes. And then I got my alien and a UFO. I got a man in black on the bottom here. Yes, there we go. And a Mothman. I hope everybody's having a good night tonight. Gremlin's been pestering me. Guess I could. And on the other side, on the other note too, I finished my short comic. It's like 19 pages. So now I finished penciling it. I have to work on the ink now. Well, paint it and then ink it. Flounders. I have a fish tank. It's not very well. Yeah, it's fairly big actually. It's got generic fish in there. I got one great big huge goldfish looking thing. Oh, woo riders. I think my favorite fish would have to be halibut. I used to live in North Vancouver, and I used to go to the quay all the time. And there's a place where you can get halibut, like fresh every morning. All the guys would come in and dump all the seafood out onto it. Yeah. Then every time I went back to Edmonton, everyone's like, "You got to bring a whole bunch of halibut." I was like, "All right." So like getting on the airplane, it's like suitcase full of halibut. Luckily, it's only an hour flight. That is correct, Sierra. I used to also stop at the little pizza place that was there. It was called Val's. Some little old lady and her husband owned it. It was awesome. I wonder if they're still there. Anyways, rambling away here. Suitcase of lobsters. It's actually kind of funny. Suitcase full of lobsters. What a hilarious cartoon. That's what I'm going to draw now. A suitcase full of lobsters. Never actually eaten a lobster either. A real lobster or a crab. Just seems like a lot of work. Busting through the shells and smashing things with a hammer at a table and pieces flying all over and cats freaking out. The dog's going crazy.
Looking good, Filthy.
Thanks, Dave. I'm making a whole bunch of stickers.
It's good to see the gremlin taking over, though.
Yeah, he's really heavy though. He's like original blob weight. Anyways, it's time to give the cat some snacks, Dave.
Well, give a few extras for us because we miss Blob.
Yeah, me too, man. Okay, everybody, have a good night.
Good night, Dirty Filth. The Dirty Wonder right there. We call him Dirty Filth. So, Gio, Filth had this cat named Blob that would just passed away last week. Cat was 17, and so Blob used to come up and literally kind of take over his art, and our audience on YouTube just absolutely loved seeing Blob, and Blob passed away. Now all of a sudden the other cat has taken over in doing that and being part of it, so it's pretty sad, but
17 years is a good run. I had a cat that lived to be 16 years old.
Hold on right there, buddy. Here we go. Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're talking crop circles with author Gio Turner. My name is Dave Scott. We really do appreciate you tuning us on and wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Worldling. Worldling is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. We continue on with the crop circle conversation. Author Gio Turner is here. His website, gioturnerwrites.com. If you want to check it on out, check out his book series and his UFO book called UFO Science and crop circles as well. Let's get right into it. Gio, thank you for being here. All right. Right before the break, you wanted to talk about the movie Signs because in your crop circle book, you actually have a little bit of a depiction of this movie. What made you write about it?
Done. And I, of course, I wasn't about to pass those up. I had to investigate each.
Oh, 1 second. I accidentally hit your mute button there. Okay, let's continue on. What made you write this?
Okay. So some of the most stunning crop work I've ever seen, and I was gobsmacked just seeing it, was like, wow, that's incredible. I had to investigate several different ones and come to analyze the data, look at when it was created, how many man hours went into doing particular ones, and what techniques were used. And I came across some other additional research that basically keyed me in on a series of crop circles that were building up. It started with a Chibolton complex circle series that was coined as a interstellar transmitter. And then it next went to a human face appearing in a crop circle using a halftone dot pattern method. And then sitting just off to the side of that face was what was called the Arecibo reply. So back in the 70s, Carl Sagan, amongst other scientific figures, put together a 1-bit signal that they could transmit out into the universe. And it was this vertical shaped image that would describe Earth, where we are, DNA, those kinds of things. So the Arecibo reply was actually a reinterpretation of that same image laid into a crop, but instead of having a human in it, it had a little gray in the middle. And then from that crop circle, it then went on to doing the crabapple crop circle, which was one of the more ominous looking ones. I'll see if this translates onto camera, but yeah. So this is the one in crabapple. And you can see it basically is a depiction of a gray in the field with a disc right next to them. And that disc had a computer code written into the disc that could be translated. And so I wasn't about to pass any of these up. I had to research them all. And the more I dug into it, the more I came to understand that this was a buildup to promote the M. Night Shyamalan movie Signs, all executed by the Disney studios. Now, a lot of people may not be aware of this, and I'm not the only person to reach that conclusion. Colin Andrews is a very respected person within the crop circle community who's been on television in many documentaries about crop circles. And Touchstone Pictures, which is a subdivision of Disney, approached him to participate as a consultant for the movie Signs. And during that consultation, Disney even quietly said to him, here's our plans on what we want to do in the lead up to the movie. And Collins was like, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. No way. Don't, that would be bad. And he really pushed them not to do it, in which case they went ahead and did it anyway. And then when they appeared, Colin reached out to those individuals in England that are professional crop circle makers and basically said, look, do I need to fly all the way back to England so I can examine these or not? And he was told, no, it's okay. You can stay home. Well, sorry, Dave, I'm not hearing you at the moment. I think you're muted.
Yeah,
there you go.
You know what? For our radio audience, I have a little bit of a case of the sniffles right now, and so, without wanting to sound gross and blow my nose in front of the microphone, I just kind of mute myself there. So, yeah, my fault, my bad. But getting back to the Arecibo reply and then the alien head. I mean, I'm disappointed to learn that these were made for a movie, man.
But I don't want to dissuade the viewers out there and readers. I want to inform everyone so that they can distinguish on their own and make their own determinations of what's believable. And honestly, at the same time, it's an amazing feat, the things that these people have created. There's some stunning work out there. But there are plenty of crop circles that are interesting that I do cover in the book that leave a lot to the wonderment.
Okay, well, obviously there has to be something real about this phenomena, considering that it's caused people to copycat what is going on and almost create a new genre of art in these farmers' fields. But before we get into the real stuff, I want to ask you about this. Are these people raiding anybody's crop field? Like if they're a farmer, or does the farmer give them permission to do that? Because, I mean, when you go destroy a crop like that, that can cost a lot of money to that farmer.
I've actually spoken with some farmers there in England, and they will all tell you the same thing. It's vandalism. And they don't want this in their crops. They're not happy about it. The vast majority of them. There have been the occasional good-natured farmers that were like, okay, I can make a buck off this, and they'll charge people to come into their field, and they'll make a little bit of money off of it to try and offset the amount of loss to their harvest. Um, as long as people respect the farmer's property and only enter in fields when invited, and then they're usually directed to follow the tram lines to enter and not to disturb the rest of the crop. And then there have been some farmers that were happy to participate with, like Francesco Grassi. He's worked with several farmers to where they gave the permission to come out and do it. There was also in the Netherlands, there was the world's largest crop circle, was a human butterfly crop circle that was, it's in the Guinness Book of World Records twice. It's once for its original creation, and then a few years later, they brought in several hundred children to recreate the same crop circle.
Oh man. I could see where farmers would be upset with that. Totally. You know.
But of course, the human butterfly one was all under the endorsement, and they were compensated for it. It was all sponsored and all of that stuff.
All right, let's move on to the real crop circles, ones that have no explanation. How I know I kind of skimmed this question a little bit earlier, but let's go in depth with it. How do we tell the difference between one that is human made and one that seems to defy logic?
So the strongest evidence I could find related to microwave energy, and I mentioned that before about some of the effects that microwaves can have on the crop stalks. So the understanding is, or at least the running theory behind how some of these are created, are these plasma balls of light are told to fly over the crop in the middle of the night, and they will irradiate the crop with microwaves, causing them to lapse over and fall as if the balls of light are painting it into the field. There have been a few instances where people have supposedly witnessed this happening, and they've noticed steam rising off of the crop as the water within them is vaporized and released. I've looked at different studies on this topic, and there's been attempts to recreate it, and it's interesting studies. For instance, that was the main focus of the BLT research team, was this potential microwave radiation in their initial papers. And then they actually took some crops and they recreated some of the stalks by placing them into microwave ovens for like 30 seconds, and it reproduced the same results.
Interesting.
The other part of the evidence that is notable, that may also relate to microwaves, is that when the kernels of wheat, when it's about time to harvest, they get heavy and they begin to dip over like this. But where microwave radiation has potentially been applied, these kernels have fallen and they remain stiff and rigid, so that if you upright them and you try and pull them down, they'll spring back up. So whatever energy that was pushed through them had somehow re-strengthened so it could hold itself up. So those are a couple of different forms of evidence that would potentially distinguish between the simple board and rope method.
Okay, so when it comes to the real crop circles, then, is there some sort of radiation that is detected off of them through millimeters or something along those lines that show that there is some sort of different ecology that's going on?
So microwave radiation is actually towards the red end of the spectrum, and it's not ionizing. So in that respect, it's relatively safe. Of course, you don't want to get hit with microwaves because you'll get cooked too. But There has been a few instances, and one of them I note in the book in a section called the Ninth Circle, where a team of crop circle researchers were examining a field in the Netherlands that this particular crop circle was shaped like a scorpion. And the tail had 8 circles in it when they first arrived on the scene and they were photographing it. And then as they were examining it and they were starting to exit, they looked again and there was now 9 circles within the field. And they double checked their photographs and they counted. It was like, wait a minute, that 9th circle wasn't there when we got here. And they went over and they examined the new circle that had appeared during their presence. And they said that they could feel warmth coming off of that circle. And then on top of that, their camera and cell phones suddenly ran out of energy. Their charge dropped to 0.
Has there been any video content that conclusively shows these craft or whatever they are coming over to make these circles happen?
Yeah, there's definitely one. I actually feature that as a last chapter in my book. So there's a famous VHS video that flies over a field in southern England, which, well, and trying to remember the location. So anyway, it's actually a pretty well-respected video, and it appears in many crop circle documentaries, where you'll see these 3 balls of light fly over the field, and a snowflake crop circle will appear in the middle of the field. And the person that recorded it was said to have been holding one of these handheld VHS just camcorders while laying on the ground in the grass. And so it's got a lot of handshake to it. And because of that, so many people felt this can't be faked. This was done at an early stage where special effects and motion tracking, none of that was available back then. And it really, the reason I cover this chapter towards the end is because I wanted to use this chapter as an ideal reference, or this creation in video, to help understand all the misinformation that surrounds the phenomena. So it's really just, it goes deep with this. There's many different aspects. There are people that take credit for hoaxing the video. Special effects studio in England supposedly created this video within a few short hours of the crop circle's creation. But then at the same time, some of the evidence that this John Wabe presented doesn't line up. Some of his accounts for how he recorded it actually doesn't make sense. And so it leaves a person to wonder, who's telling the truth? What's going on? Why is all this happening? There's just so much misinformation in this field. It makes studying crop circles incredibly difficult.
How long do these crop circles take if they are being made by ETs? I know there is that famous video that you're talking about. It literally gets done in seconds. And yet here we are, trying to, we haven't really recorded any more of them happening like that we know of. So I'm just curious, is that all it takes, these things? And if they are happening in just seconds, what do you think they mean? Is there a meaning that's been defined on that?
I do have a section in the guidebook where I cover, why. What is the purpose and what's going on here? I talk about why people make crop circles. I cover why there is such a level of disinformation. And then I also talk a little bit about the NHI and what potential reasons they would have for doing this. I will complain that if the NHI are attempting to send us some kind of message or signal, they're being pretty damn vague about it.
Let's get to some of these questions because they are building up here, and I love getting the audience involved here with what we do. So start off with super crazy here. So we got about 4 minutes to go before the break.
Okay.
What do you think about the movie Signs and how crop circles were used in that story? Because, and I'll add a little bit to that. They almost put it out there like there's some sort of navigation marker, like a USB code or something like that, or QR code, pardon me. It almost is like they were using that for some sort of navigation.
Yeah, if you're looking to prep the battlefield and okay, here's the spot on the earth where you should come down, and they leave a crop circle, the aliens must really have it out for England because almost half of all crop circles appear in southern England. As for the movie, I mean, it was a suspenseful, dramatic alien threat, not really much different than Independence Day. And so if you're of someone that leans towards the Dr. Greer end of the spectrum, you would assume, well, this is the government trying to build up fear towards the eventual invasion.
It's always about the alien invasion, isn't it? Let's go to Paul. This is an important question. What wax are you using for your mustache?
I actually make my own.
Of course you do. When you have a mustache that good, you're not putting it to store-bought product. That's for sure.
Yeah, a lot of those carry petroleum, and I find my skin just doesn't like it.
Oh, beautiful. Kim is asking, who's writing the script for the new Spielberg UFO film? I don't know.
I'd love to get a copy of that.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a beauty.
I'm chomping at the bit for Age of Disclosure to come out. I can't wait for that release.
The reviews so far aren't that good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know it just came out Sunday.
Yeah, at South by Southwest, and apparently there's a number of people out there that are saying it's the same story, just a different title.
Okay.
So I you know what? I haven't decided whether I'm going to see that yet or not. I really haven't decided yet if I'm going to see it or not.
The trailer was pretty compelling.
Trailer was compelling. Yes, I would agree with you, but it's much like paranormal television. A lot of the same people, just a different name of the show, and they all go to the same locations.
Okay.
Yeah. 1 minute to go. Let's go to Sierra's question here. Is it true that paranormal experiences occur at crop circles, and is there radiation left over?
So one of the things that I had to ask the professional crop circle guys was, hey, when you're out there in the middle of the night making your own crop circles, do you ever feel you're not alone? And they said, yes, they've seen some things. There's, and I cover that in the summary of the guidebook. But yeah, some of these different well-respected crop circle makers have seen some plasma balls in the middle of the night. One occasion even said it was like a spotlight suddenly shone down on a field just a few hundred yards away from them. It was like a beam of light that just shot down out of the heavens, a column of light. And they thought that they were about to get spotted, and they all ducked and hid in the crop thinking that they were about to be exposed.
Hold that thought. We'll be right back
with Gio Turner. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
Okay.
Good times. Good
Yeah.
time.
I'm glad that it's not as laggy now.
We got 30 minutes to go, my man. And I can't believe we're already halfway through. I'm blown away right now. This has been so good.
Yeah. I'm having a blast.
Good.
You're my first podcast since I released the book.
Beautiful. That's what we love. Let's give us a little fist pump here. Yeah, a little self gratification there. Yeah, that's good. That's good. So tell us about this mustache wax you make here.
I had allergic reaction to the store-bought stuff. So I just looked up online how to make your own, and I bought some beeswax along with some coconut oil and a few drops of peppermint oil, and I'm good.
Nice.
I just melt it down in a little thing of tin foil, and I fill up my tin.
That's awesome.
And I get to smell peppermint.
I love it. I love it. Let's see here.
Statistically, it's like 90% men are like, yay, that rocks. But I'm happily married, so it's okay.
If you ever decide to shave it, I want it. I'll put it up with the rest of the beards I have up here. Good stuff. Good stuff. Got about 3.5 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of I'm looking forward to the next book, UFO Science and the Skeptic's Guide to the Woo.
Oh yes, I'm a big woo guy. We could have good debates on that.
I'm a big nuts and bolts guy, but I'm also pretty open-minded, so I'm ready to delve in and learn everything I can.
Usually, I in my younger years of doing this, I would totally debate that that whole subject, because I agree with you that nuts and bolts are very important. But my own experiences just really push the limits of strange imagination, and it makes me realize that I don't think nuts and bolts could ever explain what is truly going on.
Right. I do see consciousness as a severely neglected field of science.
The phenomenon, what I've learned is the phenomena doesn't give a care about the science aspect of it. As rude as that answer may be, and I apologize for that if you take it that way, the phenomena is an asshole, to be blunt. It really is, because
there's so I've been speaking with a few people that have received downloads.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find was like, wait a minute, there's this oxymoron thing going on. We humans are not ready for this level of technology. And by the way, here's some physics.
Well, I do believe that the human aspect of everything, the human ego gets involved in that. I have myself surrounded by enough nuts and boltsers that I kind of, kind of play the opposite. So if I need something learned about that, I can go to these people. But I often wonder why so many people are getting these things happen. I've been downloaded before. I could show you the shape. It's right there. Right
Okay.
there. No idea what it means. I got scientist Jack Sarfati looking at it, which is something diamond. The like omnipresent diamond or something. I got it on my phone.
Okay.
Hold on.
I'm just wondering why there's not more people getting downloads of philosophy.
No idea.
If NHI are worried that we're not ready for advanced tech and we need to mature as a civilization, then shouldn't we be getting more, hey, here's how you should start thinking?
Here we go with the second half of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight we have our guest, Gio Turner, until the top of the hour. My name is Dave Scott. Sometimes we wear tinfoil. Sometimes pick the day. See if you can figure it out. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Gio Turner with us. We're going to continue with audience questions as we come in until the top of the hour. Gio, are you ready?
Hit me.
All right, let's start off with Donna. How do you think crop circles are formed?
Well, you take this 4 to 6 long foot board and you drill holes on either side and you run some rope and tie it through. And then I have a whole chapter in the book for how you can do your own. But as for how the NHI are doing it, I would lean towards these balls of light using microwave energy to heat and sculpt.
Love it. Love it. Let's go to Kim. Are there any crop circles in rocks, or is it just soft farmers' fields?
Outside of crops, there have been snow circles, circles that have appeared in snow, but those are very few and far between. I don't know about rocks. I haven't seen. I do cover some of the history of earthworks within the book, where I cover like the Nazca lines and things like that.
Yeah, the Nazca lines are kind of trippy. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Completely.
But they're actually not like the oldest ones. The ones that are even older than that go back like 3,000 years to these white horses in southern England, right where they do the crop circles.
No kidding.
They're like 3,000 years old.
Never knew that. All right, let's go to MJ here. Can you send a beam of microwave energy to a specific spot to bend over just one tree?
If it's a small tree, maybe.
Right.
I suppose that would depend on the intensity of the beam that you were sending. But as for getting crops to fold over, it's really not any more difficult than popping popcorn in your microwave.
Let's go over to Matthew. How many people does it take to do one crop circle in one night?
Well, 2 people can do a 50-foot diameter crop circle in about 20 minutes if they're really experienced and know what they're doing. One person, if you've got a really strong, there's a certain technique to doing it, and it generally works best to have a minimum of 2 people. And then it's just playing out from there. How complex do you want to make it, and what little tricks you want to add to it. So some crop circles can be put together by a team of like 13 people in one night, and they can be extraordinarily intricate.
How do you think AI is going to affect the research of this?
I actually used AI to help do my research in this. So I was telling you earlier, I created this formula. What I would do is I would go and I would make measurements of the different crops and get the exact sizes. And then I would create black and white bitmapped images, recreations of the exact circle, understanding the dimensions. And then I could feed the bitmapped images into AI where they could come back to me with the exact square footage of that crop circle so that I could then work my calculations.
Let's go to Xanos. Are crop circles related to stone circles like Stonehenge?
There have been many crop circles done around Stonehenge and lots of stories about those. Oftentimes, crop circles are around other historic sites. There are places in England called barrows, which are basically tombs that were underground. And oftentimes, crop circles will be placed around those historic sites. I did also note that, like, one of the mysteries that scientists weren't sure about for a long time was there were these mushroom circles that can appear throughout Africa and other places in Europe, where basically you get these 50-foot diameter circles of mushrooms, where there's no mushrooms in the middle and just this nice ring of mushrooms. And through study and analysis, they figured out what was going on. There was this actual, it started out in the center, and as the mushrooms grew, those in the middle actually died off because the ground was already bled dry of any nutrients, and it would just continue to expand.
Let's go to Dead Man here. How is the crop circles are made by the same British guys over several generations and several continents at several different times?
Excellent question. So there are definitely teams in Europe that they teach each other and they trade off and they try and outdo one another. As for other countries, that's a really good question. And there's very few that are reported in Africa, but the ones that have been reported there by shaman, they respect when one is found and they protect it and they have celebrations around it. And yeah, it's pretty much the same phenomenon. It's also interesting, if you look in the guidebook, I color code the map, the global map, showing you what countries where crop circles are reported. And it's interesting to note that even though almost half of all crop circles form in England, England is not even in the top 10 of cereal growing countries. So why is that going on?
Well, I know in Canada, in the prairie provinces of Alberta, Saskatchewan, and Manitoba, they have seen an increase of crop circles as well. And I don't think that they have had people come out and say that they're making them just yet.
I would say, honestly, if I were to go out and assemble together a team of scientists to actually go out this year or next year and thoroughly empirically study the phenomena, I would actually avoid England and I would go to the countries where they're rarely occurring. And I would have some kind of team where we could just board a plane, hop over and be there in 24 hours, because you're more likely to find something potentially NHI than, the percentage of NHI to man-made is going to be probably easier to achieve outside of the central part of Europe.
How come we never hear of crop circles in Asia or Africa? I mean, there just seems to be certain parts we don't hear of this study actually happening.
Yeah, there's been a few reported in China. And I think Japan has reported a couple. Along the same lines, I also have a chapter where I cover Tanbo art. So Tanbo art is a Japanese rice art, and it is incredibly inspiring to look at. The Japanese, every year, they will plant different breeds of rice that the leaves of the rice have different colors, and they will do elaborate depictions of artworks, everything from Mona Lisa to, of course, classic kabuki images and even Star Wars promotions in their rice fields.
Interesting. Very interesting. Okay, let's go to another question here from our audience. Let's go to T-Bone. Have you heard of people using any sort of spirit box in a crop circle or doing paranormal investigation? And if so, what's your opinion on that?
So yeah, there are people that find benefits from being seated within a crop circle. Many times they feel that there's potential healing energies or connections to the divine. I wouldn't say that's really my area of expertise in that respect. I do have a chapter on it's called a Sri Yantra formation that formed out in the Oregon desert. And that one was a really fascinating one where this Hindu symbolism was etched into the desert. And the purpose of that was so that the creator could sit in the center of this formation in order to do their meditation and be more at center with the universe. And it was just a really inspiring creation.
Leacham is asking, when I see certain crop circles, they seem like there's some sort of alchemical symbols. Have you looked into any alchemy or esoteric writings to compare?
I do know that there was a couple crop circles that actually were coded for a low energy fusion reaction using the symbols actually broke down into like potassium, sodium, and another element that was coded into this low energy crop circle.
Moving on, let's go to T-Bone again. Are the bugs under circles studied afterwards?
I have seen a few reports about flies being cooked into the stalks. I didn't find enough detail and evidence of it to go into thorough research, so I kind of slid that one to the side while I focused on other data points.
Continuing on, let's go over to Super Crazy. Are there any crop circles that depict controversial imagery and or information?
I wouldn't say anything. I'm not aware of any that were controversial. There was the pie crop circle, which I found utterly fascinating, where this particular circle had this very ornate pattern to it, and it factored out to actually be a computation of the mathematical term of pi.
That's interesting. Good 3.14 there.
Yeah.
Let's do a follow-up with Super Crazy. Are there any crop circles that you believe were created by non-human intelligence?
There are some where I'm not saying that any of them are beyond refute, but there are definitely some that are inexplicable. The ones that I find the most interesting was this, there was a gentle flattening of crop circles. So we understand with the whole board and rope method, you're basically dropping down the wheat from the base down. And there have been crop circles where the crop is bent midway up and where the lower half of the crop is still standing and the upper half has been bent over. And that's not something you can achieve with ropes and boards. There's also been a crop circle in Golden Ball Hill in 2005 that was a canola field of these beautiful yellowing flowers. And there was absolutely no damage to any of the flowers. You look at the whole thing, and all the crops are laid down flat with all the flower petals and everything gently still there. Now, the interesting aspect of that is 10 years later, one of the Ancient Alien episodes decided we're going to recreate this same crop circle. And they brought in some of these professional crop circle makers to do it. But when you do, I mean, when you look at it from the air, the two crop circles look identical. But when you examine the surface level, all of the canola flowers are just trashed. They're all just messed up, and there's no way that they could recreate that crop circle that way.
That's interesting. Let's move over to Kim. Why do we think any are alien at all?
I remember the original, most famous ancient one was attributed to the devil, that the devil came in and lowered the field. That's covered in the history portion of the guidebook. Why do people think it's aliens? I mean, a lot of the mania came out of the 1970s after, in Australia, there was the account of the saucer nests appearing in a swampland. And that's when Doug and Dave in England said they got their inspiration to try and recreate these circle nests in England. And that might have started some of it, but it existed well before that as well. But at least some of the zeitgeist of it.
Let's go to MJ. Can you direct a microwave beam to a specific spot to bend over? I had it happen on my back in one of my properties about 2016. This kind of leads into his question from earlier about the tree aspect.
Okay, so the interesting aspect about this is MIT has a group of scientists that are, every year they do these things that they call a hack, where they use all their advanced science to pull some stunt or trick somewhere. And one year they decided they were going to try and recreate a crop circle using the techniques studied by the BLT Research Foundation. And they took some equipment and they built their own microwave emitter. And the thing is none of what they did actually worked. Their microwave emitter, they actually, so they put this whole thing together and they made a documentary about it and released it. And they touted their own, hey, we achieved this, we pulled this all off and we were so successful, but then they didn't show any of their results at all. So they were supposed to compare their stock kernel recreation with the samples provided by BLT, and they never did that. Their microwave emitter actually began leaking at one point, where microwaves were emitting out one of the sides of the emitter, and that actually caused some of the cameras and audio equipment to go down during the recording. So it's interesting. Even when scientists try to recreate it, thus far I haven't seen anything successfully pulled off yet. But it has been theorized that if DARPA wants to create a microwave emitter, they would have no difficulty doing it.
Let's move over to, let's see here. Let's go to Kim. Any comments on Linda Moulton Howe's crop circle conclusions?
I'm actually not familiar with her conclusions.
She's very much believes that a lot of these are alien, that they're not human-made.
I have seen different figures in the field. Colin Andrews felt that 80% of them were man-made and 20% were from a higher source. I take a more conservative approach. And if you actually look at the statistics over the years, at one point there was, hundreds and hundreds of crop circles made every year. But if you actually look at it and the distribution of it on the globe, so much of it was centered right around southern England and in that crazed height. I want to say that probably a similar ratio of UFO sightings to crop circle sightings is NHI.
4 minutes to go here. Gary wants to know if there's been any crop circles reported in Iowa. I thought they just built baseball fields there.
There have been crop circles all throughout the U.S. I don't know distinctly Iowa. The interesting aspect I do note in the book is if you get caught making a crop circle in a farmer's field in England, you don't have too much to worry about. But I wouldn't try pulling that off in a place like Texas for various truly American reasons.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either. Super Crazy is asking, do you think that the U.S. government has living alien beings in captivity or only deceased aliens in a frozen storage? What this has to do with crop circles, I have no idea, but I'm going to ask you anyway because I like a woo question in there every now and again.
I'm open-minded to the possibility. I've seen lots of respected people, like even in that Age of Disclosure trailer, Jay Stratton was saying that he has seen biological non-human entities. So, and from what I understand, the Roswell did result in cadavers being recovered.
I like that.
So I'm willing to accept that.
I'm willing to accept cadavers on this show. That works out well for me. So thank you. Let's go to Sierra. Have you investigated actual crop circles made by non-human intelligence?
I cringe at the notion that living NHI are being held prisoner.
And the fact that you do believe...
Well, I was only in England for about a week. I was in England for about a week, chatting up the different circle makers. I was able to examine 3 crop circles, and I didn't find anything.
Oh, I think he froze up on us. You froze up on us there for a moment. Well, we'll get him back here. We'll get him back here momentarily when he gets his signal. Gio, if you could hear us, your signal kind of dropped right out. See, that's what happens. Probably the sharks nibbling on the power lines or the communication lines going through the ocean. You know, this is what happens. You cannot bring this up. So we got about a minute to go here before we have to say goodnight to Gio. And considering I think we've lost him there, to be honest. I really do. I think we've lost him. But that's okay. We're going to just give a shout out to his latest book, UFO Science, Crop Circle Casework. It can be found on Amazon right now. If you want to check it on out, Gio Turner. Rights.com is his website. And yeah, this will be one you want to add to it because I like the fact that he's not a debunker, he's not a skeptic, he's a nuts and bolts guy who wants to see how the woo and nuts and bolts can be sewed into one another. And I think that's a good thing. Coming up next on Spaced Out Radio, as we say goodnight to Gio. Swamp Dweller up first. Then, Little Timmy James and the UFO Report. It's a busy hour 3 coming up next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear. And enjoy the break. We're going to be right back in a couple minutes. Started here. Oh, there's Gio back. You're back. You're back. Appreciate
I'm not
you.
sure what happened there. It just cut out.
That's okay. That's okay. I want to say a quick thank you about coming on tonight. Greatly appreciate that.
No, I really appreciate you having me on. It's nice to chat about this. My wife doesn't want to talk about it so much.
I hear you there. Well, you go tuck your daughters into bed, and we'll call it the night. And thank you for coming on in.
Thanks so much, Dave. I really appreciate it.
Take care, my friend.
Aloha.
Take care. Gio Turner, everybody. I'm glad he popped back in so we could say a proper goodnight to him. That's pretty cool. Turn you up. All right. Excuse me. That was a fun show.
No
a little
doubt.
bit different. Nice. I like the crop circle topic.
Yeah, for sure.
One minute to go. Thank you tonight to T-Bone and Major Lee, our lone super chatters. We really appreciate the love and support, everybody. They can't see you. I don't have your camera on.
Thumbs up.
Yeah, thumbs up. Swamp Dweller will be 4 minutes, 50 seconds.
Okie dokie.
Yeah. All right. I'm tired, dude. Hi, Jessica S. You get a short one today. I'm tired. Oh, these sniffles.
No doubt.
I'm going to sleep well tonight.
I hope I do.
Yeah. You need a CPAP.
I know.
You need to talk to Sandra Kincaid. Get a hold of her.
Yes.
She's in our chat room because she's like the guru of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Here we go, everyone. All right. I believe it's the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Swan Weller and Little Jimmy James coming at you here momentarily. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Worldling. Worldling is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's head to the swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp. In November of 2023, my friend Dan and I began to get into a new hobby called disc golf. One day, we decided to head to a course in Battle Creek, Michigan, far from where we both reside. We were having fun playing with each other, laughing and joking around, and making fun of each other for being bad at the sport. We were and still are novices at the game. While walking the course, I approached what looked like an abandoned gazebo. It was covered and overgrown with vines, weeds, and other plant life. Part of the roof had collapsed, covered in graffiti and people's carvings of various designs. Dan, our other friend Ben, and I walked up to the structure and took a small break. We all studied the gazebo and remarked on how bad of shape it was. I believe it was me and someone else who said, "This is the sort of thing you'd see in those ghost and cryptid hunting shows." We all laughed. And then I did a rendition of the famous Ghost Adventure show intro, where I mockingly said we should return at night and see if we can find something. Dan then asked what we could find, when I quickly replied, "A goddamn skinwalker, boys," in a thick southern accent. We then continued our game of disc golf, and throughout the rest of the game we jokingly mentioned skinwalkers, like if one of us had lost our disc in the woods or anything, that we might run into one. This happened a lot for Ben, mainly because his disc was the same shade of green as the plant life around us, making it exceedingly difficult to find. Finally, we got to the last hole of the course, and when we approached it, we all noticed a significant claw mark on the stone base of the basket. 3 distinct claw marks, to be exact. Dan excitedly said, "Hey look, there's your skinwalker proof." We all laugh, and I say, "Man, as much as we've mentioned skinwalkers today, we're in trouble." As many of you know and are aware of, skinwalkers are attracted to those who openly mention them or believe in them. After our game of disc golf, Ben heads home and I follow Dan from my house to his. Dan and I hang out at his place for the rest of the day, playing Xbox, watching YouTube videos, and talking about our disc golf game that day, and doing other miscellaneous things. And yes, of course, the Skinwalker jokes continue here as well. Well, around 1:30 a.m., I decided to head home and finally call it a day. We were both exhausted at this point. I should give the layout of the area. Dan's place is out in the middle of the BFE, the sticks, if you will. On the right and behind his house are nothing but woods for miles and miles. To the left are fields, and across the street is a horse pasture with 6 or 7 horses. Anyway, Dan and I say goodbye to each other, and as I get about halfway from his door to my car, I am suddenly scared to death by this loud, distorted, high-pitched scream coming out from nowhere. At first, I thought it was one of the horses across the road, but I realized that wasn't the case. I know what a horse sounds like. That wasn't a horse. That was something attempting to impersonate a horse and maybe even a human scream. I returned to Dan's door, and when he answered, he looked scared. I asked him if he had heard the scream, and he said he had. After we both calmed down a bit, I finally went home. However, I noticed some strange things occurring around me over the next few days. I mostly saw dark figures in the corner of my vision. I heard my name being called and nobody calling out for me, and I heard what sounded like a whisper at random times of the night. I called Dan to ask if he was having these experiences, and he said, "Dude, I don't want to talk over the phone about it. Next time we hang out, I'll tell you what's up." 2 days later, I went over to Dan's place. After letting me in, he tells me, "After you left, later that night, and in the night since, I keep hearing whispers around my house, and shadows, and sometimes it even sounds like my doorknob is jiggling like somebody's trying to get in." He then told me that following day, he went to see if there was evidence of something being outside. There were no tracks, marks, or anything like that, and we've since laid way back on any attention from skinwalkers and anything like that. The strange activities have both died down a bit, but I have no idea what it was. What do all of you in the swamp think it was? A skinwalker? Something else? Please let me know. And Swamp Dweller, if you share my story, I've been a fan for a couple of years now. This is my first time sharing a story on YouTube. I hope everybody enjoys it.
Thank you, Swamp Dweller, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to his YouTube channel, Swamp Dweller, and we get it going right there. Hit subscribe. Thousands of stories, all free for you. It's time for the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
Hello, Timmy James. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great, man. I am doing
Excellent.
great. I know we do a lot of UFO stories here
Yes.
because that's kind of what you're doing is, the UFO report, if
Yeah.
you haven't noticed.
Well,
I got to start off with this one because this
do
is
it.
this is a weird story. And I don't know if anybody has heard this or not. Television popularity and paranormal, the number one show is Ghost Adventures.
Right.
Well, one of the characters besides Zach Bagans is kind of the goofball of the show. His name's Aaron Goodwin.
Yeah.
Okay. And from everybody I've talked to about Aaron, he is just one of the nicest dudes you could ever meet.
Right.
Okay. And Dave Schrader put up this post, a good friend of this show, host of Paranormal 60, has also done a number of television shows, including the Holzer Files. Good friend. And we actually just had his wife on a couple weeks ago, Winnie Schrader, as well. Well, Aaron was the not the suspect,
No.
the potential victim of a murder for hire plot that was foiled by police. Now, TMZ, which in Canada we call TMZ.
Yes, that's right. The
I
proper
don't
way.
usually go to them for my paranormal stories, but this one's weird. I want to read this off of TMZ's website. Okay. The wife of Ghost Adventures star Aaron Goodwin has been busted in a murder for hire plot, and cops say she tried to pay a hitman to knock off her husband.
Dun, dun, dun.
Victoria Goodwin was arrested last week and booked on 2 charges: solicitation to commit murder and conspiracy to commit murder, after police said she hatched a plan to kill Aaron while he was filming his show with Zach Bagans. Now, according to the arrest report obtained by TMZ, cops say Victoria was messaging an inmate in a Florida prison about getting out of her marriage to Aaron when she asked, rather, "Am I a bad person because I choose to end his existence, not divorce? You're the spawn of hell." It reminds me of, you go on Reddit where they have the am I the a-hole
Yes,
kind of
yes.
thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're the a-hole in this situation. You are. Okay. Now, police say Victoria provided info about Aaron's location and filming times in California, where he was filming Ghost Adventures. Cops say Aaron's wife set aside $11,515, a weird amount,
I know.
to pay the alleged hitman, and they say the inmate she was communicating with messaged a guy on the outside about the plot. "He's asleep right now in the hotel room. I need to know what's going on. Can I get an update? Was it done?" This allegedly happened back in October, and Aaron is still very much alive, though it's unclear what went down with the alleged hitman, but cops claim there were specific messages about a $2,500 upfront payment. It's only 60 months on financing after that, but
That's right.
you need the down payment of $2,500 to off your spouse. Now, police say they only caught wind of this after corrections officers found and seized the inmate's contraband phone at his Florida prison. Now, for her part, police say Victoria has denied wanting Aaron to be killed and says she was just daydreaming or fantasizing about being without her husband. Cops say she's also told them that she didn't remember sending the messages and doesn't want her hubby killed.
She was sleep texting.
Sleep texting, yes. Yeah, nap texting, sleep texting,
sure.
same thing.
Yeah.
When confronted about messages related to sending the guy money, police say Victoria claims she thought the money was for cell phones and mentioned that she and Aaron were going through marital problems. Aaron, who married her just 2.5 years ago at the Haunted Mansion in Disneyland, tells TMZ he thought he was in a happy marriage and he's blindsided and devastated at this turn of events. Zach Bagans states it's an emotional time for Aaron and he's trying to give him love and support. Now, TMZ is being told Victoria, by the way, she's still in police custody on $100,000 bail, and she'll sit there until she appears in court.
Yeah, I guess so.
That is horrific.
So everybody has to have seen this show. I mean, most everybody in our audience has seen that show. And if you've seen the show, Zach always tells Aaron, okay, what I want you to do is go into this room alone. So you can imagine how that's going to work out in the next little while. Zach's going to say, okay, Aaron, I need you to go into the morgue and shut the door. Aaron's going to be like hell, I'm not going anywhere in this place alone.
Right?
Like, holy smokes.
We say that in jest.
We do.
But this is a very, very serious topic. I mean, I've never met the guy. I know people who know him and say he's just a fantastic human being.
Yeah.
And the fact that there must have been like a prenup or something in there, or a life insurance policy that she was trying to get. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And to be only married 2.5 years and to have this plot, she had to be thinking about that a lot longer than just the time they were married.
And to top it off, just a story in front of that, he had an attachment, a seriously evil attachment for 3 years before he married her. that affected his house, his home, and his father was staying with him. I guess his father was living with him for a while, and it affected the whole family. Like they went through some serious trouble trying to get rid of this attachment. So when his life got better, again, trying not to laugh, he married her. So ugh.
I hope she's charged.
So do I.
Well, we know she's charged. I hope she's found guilty.
Yeah, 100%.
And that this just, pays the price. I feel for him.
Yeah,
I feel for him, and thank God it didn't go through.
Yeah,
thank God something happened that stopped it from going through. They haven't released that part yet.
No.
On whether it was just a financial scam or whatever. But my question is, how does she know the inmate? That's what I would like to know. Like, how does she know the inmate? Because somebody had to tip her off saying, I got a buddy, or you might want to talk to my friend. I don't think it was on, inmate dating lines.
Yeah, or pen like pals or something. Yeah, I get where you're going.
I don't see it being that.
No, that is well, yeah, I guess that'll be part of the unfolding of the story. But yeah, falling into that. Well, I mean, it happens more often than we think, I'm sure. I mean, my wife's really huge into these police drama reality shows and stuff, and it's amazing. And how I guess, so yeah, the word is stupid. How stupid either either party is, the male or the female, that actually tries to do this, and they get caught all the time. And it's always something weird like that. Like, I met him at a Denny's, and it's like, okay, so you met this person at a Denny's, and now you're going to hire this person. Yeah, it does not. It doesn't equate. Right?
No, it doesn't equate.
Hey, that guy over there looks like he'd help me out. Like, how do you? Yeah, I don't get it. Especially somebody locked up.
Well, thank goodness it didn't go through.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more news about this coming out as this court case goes on, and we'll have to keep in touch with what's going on here. But
for sure,
you have a UFO report to deliver.
I do. And these stories, some of them are a bit larger than normal, but we might have to take a break on this one. So this is about the Age of Disclosure. Now, I have not seen the movie. It was released this past weekend. And basically, I think everything I've seen or read about it, it's getting very not good reviews for a lot of reasons. And everything I read was brutal, absolutely brutal. And this one, I finally found one that I think kind of is more even keel and kind of gives you the real nuts and bolts of what this person thought of the movie. And this person is a believer, a UFO believer. So
who's the person?
This person is Owen Gleiberman.
Okay.
All right. And this is an op-ed, and he's an independent journalist. He works for Variety. And there's a couple other places that he works for, that he's written for. So basically, it says the Age of Disclosure, a documentary claims to offer proof that alien spaceships are visiting us. But does it really? So Dan Ferris' film is full of U.S. officials who testify that we're being visited by other worlds. They make you wonder if the truth is still out there. So the Age of Disclosure, which premiered at South by Southwest this past weekend, is a documentary that millions of people have been anticipating and are been waiting to see. It's a movie that purports to offer incontrovertible evidence that spaceships from another world are visiting us. And if you attempt to argue, as I will do at some points in this review, that what you're seeing in the film isn't what you think you're seeing, you're likely to be attacked as a heretic and a denier of reality, someone who turns a blind eye to the proof that's sitting right in front of them. The evidence, if you truly look at it, isn't all that compelling. Blurry black and white U.S. government video footage that shows tiny objects zipping forward over the surface of the water. It's the footage of aerial phenomena witnessed by Navy pilots that we all saw back in 2021. When it was declassified, it's fascinating to look at, but quite inconclusive. It's hardly the stuff that alien dreams are made of. Let me be clear about something. Like all my fellow curiosity seekers who will see the age of disclosure, I'm someone who wants to and does believe. Over the years, I have gorged on every UFO special and documentary and YouTube video I can, always looking for the feeling of awe, eager for those images of glowing lights in the sky, of mysterious spaceships to be real. On occasion, I've been momentarily lured into the rabbit hole sensation that, yes, behold, they are real. It's a feeling akin to seeing the proof of God's existence. The hunger many of us have for that feeling and the way that we take the evidence before us and convince ourselves that it's undeniable is a powerful thing. Yet there are deep underlying patterns at work in our relationship to alien phenomena. And when you start to perceive those patterns, it makes one a little less susceptible to the rapture of wide-eyed belief. The truth may be out there, but the real truth is that each era responds to the extraterrestrial evidence that's tailor-made for it. In 1938, Orson Welles' CBS radio network broadcast of H.G. Wells' A War of the Worlds was so convincing that it triggered a mass panic, convincing countless listeners that a full-scale Martian invasion was taking place. The 1980s, where the heyday of tales of alien abduction, with scores of witnesses offering variations on the same populist story, how they've been taken into a spaceship, subjected to sinister medical experiments at the hands of creatures who are almost inevitably described as looking like the alien from the end of Steven Spielberg's Close Encounters of the Third Kind. These were woozy tales from a time of counterculture hangover. In the 90s, the X-Files was about the dawn of the age we are in now, when everything is perceived to be a conspiracy and a cover-up, which significantly started out as a left-wing view, only to morph into the right wing. Where the age of disclosure strikes a new and vivid tone is that its first extraterrestrial pop culture bombshell that presents itself through the buttoned-down ethos of science, technology, bureaucracy, data. For starters, it's not about UFOs. Now, a corny, outdated term employed by amateurs, it's about the UAPs. And apart from the government-sanctioned UAP footage, which doesn't have much variety, the documentary, directed by Dan Farah, is essentially a 2-hour parade of talking heads. But these are neither outliers nor crackpots. They are 34 senior members of the U.S. government, military, and intelligence community, all of whom claim to have direct knowledge of UAPs. These are people with prestige and credibility, and most of them are somber-looking men. So they must be right? They are unequivocal in what they say. I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings, declared Jay Stratton. This is the biggest discovery in human history, said Christopher Mellon, former Department of Defense official. The film's testimony comes from people you're familiar with, like Senator turned Secretary of State Mark Rubio, or former Director of National Intelligence General Jim Clapper, or South Dakota Senator Mike Rounds. And it comes from people you don't know who seem venerable and impressive, like Hal Puthoff, a wizened 88-year-old quantum physicist who was the chief scientist of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. I will continue on.
Let's continue that, because this is an important story that we need to talk about. The talking heads, the who's who, who's in on it, James report breaking down the age of disclosure.
This is Spaced Out Radio, and your host, Dave Scott.
Very interesting what you were reading there.
Yes, it is. It is a good review. I was like, okay.
Good job, Tim.
Why, thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Hey.
Yeah, that Aaron story.
I mean, yeah, in all seriousness, man, that's just got to be one of the scariest things. I mean, well, yeah, one of the scariest things out there. Somebody you trust like that.
Right.
You got an ex-wife, don't you? I could.
I miss her every day.
Me too. I miss mine. Uh-huh.
Something tells me this won't go to court under irreconcilable differences.
No. I was just imagining. I wasn't really thinking about it, but that's a weird total too. $11,115. Well, it was like she was reaching into her purse and going, I think I got I got $15 more here.
Let me gather the quarters for that extra $5.
Right? And, okay. And here's your down payment.
Yep. How about Tim Mothman and his goatee getting Freedom 55 today?
That a boy.
Yeah.
That a boy.
The weird part about it is the goatee's been there since the beginning, too.
Well, he's slowly catching up.
Boob Joe's Bane, you've got ex-wives.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know, right?
Mm. We had 3 minutes.
3 minutes.
Yep. 3 minutes.
So Mothman went to San Diego on the weekend.
Did he?
I think that's where he went.
What were you in San Diego for? San Diego.
San Diego. You know what that's Spanish for? I'm just leaving it.
Hi, Tim.
Hello, Dave.
Timmy. Hello, Tim. Oh, my God. That was a brand new one, too.
That was a good one. Yeah, they used the full Timothy.
Yeah. I'm going to find a Joe one and send it to Monk.
Oh, yeah. That'd be
If you
perfect.
find one, you got to send it to him.
Yeah. For sure. How's your mom, Joe?
Yeah, Joe, give us an update on how your mom's feeling, buddy. Joe's mom had surgery last week. Remember, for everybody who comes to Vegas, you get one free tug on Tim Mothman's goatee.
Absolutely.
No purchase necessary.
That's right. Autograph photos, $10.
That's right.
Beardacon.
Do Canadians eat moose cakes for birthdays? What the hell are moose cakes?
Well, I don't know. Do Americans eat cow cakes for birthdays? I don't know.
We got cows here, too.
Yeah, I know. But
And there isn't as many moose as you think there are.
No.
Not in our area.
Well, no, definitely not. Well, I think I've seen, ever since I've been here, I've seen 5 in our immediate area.
There was one that used to run up and down the highway.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what happened to him. I wonder if he got smoked by a car.
His name was Carl.
Yeah.
His name's Jeff.
And there's at least 2 or 3 killed every year down by your place at the 108.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Smoked by vehicles.
Yeah. And there's usually a bear too, north of the 108. There's usually one in the fall or in the late spring that gets tagged too.
Yep.
It's too bad.
I tagged a grouse yesterday.
Oh, good. She's doing good. Excellent.
Lex Diaz, how you doing?
Yeah, grouse aren't even in season, man. What are you doing?
He just literally jumped right in front of my car.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Thank you to T-Bone and Major Lee for the super chats tonight. Greatly appreciate the love.
Yeah, gross. They got an IQ of a dinner roll.
Give him that much?
Yeah, well, trying to be kind.
All right, 5 seconds. Here we go. Oh, like 7 seconds. All right, final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. UFO report continuing with Little T. James momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tim James here, reading off a breakdown from a journalist about Age of Disclosure, the new UFO movie that was brought out at the movie festival in Texas called South by Southwest. Tim?
Yeah. So where I left off was we were talking to Hal Puthoff, a wizened 88-year-old quantum physicist who was the chief scientist of the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program. These people all look and sound so important that the message that blankets every moment of the Age of Disclosure is they're official, and what they have to say is official. Actually, one of them does exude a fevered aura of a true believer, Lou Elizondo, who comes across like the Guy Fieri of UAP advocacy. Sorry. What they have to say adds up to one primal narrative, repeated over and over, kind of like the alien abduction stories. It's all about the otherworldly capabilities of the alleged spaceships observed by Navy pilots. Here's what we learn: that the ships move at speeds far beyond anything our technology has invented, that even at those speeds, they cannot stop, or they can stop on a dime, which is unheard of. One witness talks about how a ship would hover in the air, then shoot up into space, then come back down to hover again, also unheard of. A few of the witnesses worked for the CIA, so they possess the knowledge to testify that these spaceships are not part of a top secret government program. Do they come out of the top secret program from China or Russia? That would be impossible because America's outer space technology far outstrips theirs. Speaking of China and Russia, it's part of the film's mystique that rather than describe most of this with the awestruck wonder you might expect, the officials on hand all talk about the alien spaceship sightings as a sober matter of military defense. According to several witnesses, there have been extraterrestrial crash landings. We've picked up those spaceships ourselves, and sometimes they're inhabitants. And the basic strategy that the U.S. government is interested in is to study the crash ships and reverse engineer their technology in hopes that our enemies don't get hold of it first. For a while, the witnesses mostly discuss spaceships that resemble the one in the famous Tic Tac incident, when the U.S. naval aviators on November 14, 2004, first spotted an object zipping through the air that was shaped like a breath mint. But we also hear numerous descriptions of grander alien ships, gigantic red cubes and black rectangles, like the monolith in 2001, hovering right at the gates of government facilities. I should mention that several of the witnesses make teasing references to the government UAP footage that remains classified, which they themselves have seen, and which they say leaves absolutely no doubt that these are phenomena from another world. Life is complicated, but some things are binary. Either the things that the people in the age of disclosure are talking about are alien spaceships, or they're not. Many who see the film will come away thinking that they are. At moments, I listened to the testimonials and got swept up in them, and I thought, could it be? Maybe it could. But then my skepticism kicked in, and it has to do with two highly earthbound phenomena. The first is the power of suggestion, the way the stories get repeated and exaggerated and embellished and then confirmed. But the far more powerful issue is this. For decades, there have been a ton of UFO footage shots on 8mm cameras and digital cameras. But we now live in the age when cameras are literally everywhere. Everyone has one on their phone. The military compounds that are involved in these stories are laced with surveillance cameras. Our entire world is laced with surveillance cameras. So, excuse me, if the whole planet is not wired to take pictures, how come there's no footage in the age of disclosure? Not 1 second of it that actually captures any of the things these people are talking about. Do aliens show up in top secret places? How do they know? The title of the film refers to the idea, or is it merely the hope that we now live in an age when the government is being pressured to shed its secrecy? The people want to know, and the film says we will know. But if that's the case, then when are we actually going to be shown something that looks like more than a dupe of an old video game depicted a blurry black dot of an alien spaceship cruising over the water at what looks to be 300 miles an hour? I'll believe it when I see it.
Well,
so nothing burger.
Boy, it's choking us
I
up
don't
here.
know. I'm just about to cry. Excuse me.
Look, here's what I think it is, okay?
Mm.
Here's what I think it is, because I'm reading a few of these online too.
Right.
Okay. There's two ways to look at this movie. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I have not seen it yet.
Yeah, for sure.
Neither of you. And
Nope.
and I'm still debating whether I am or not going to see it, because the journalist in me will say, look, we do this all the time. We have heard these same people say the same things over and over again, whether it's in other documentaries, whether it's on podcasts, whether it's through interviews or whatever it may be, conferences, you name it.
Sure.
And now somebody like Dan Farah has put it all together with the same people telling the same stories, using the same footage. Like, I'm sorry, I don't need to see the Tic Tac or Go Fast video anymore.
No,
I don't.
No,
I don't. But there is a lot we have to remember, and this is what I have to convince myself of too, is there is a lot of people out there who have literally just woken up to the fact that this might be real. And they are blown away.
Sure.
They see all of these people who all they're doing is looking at the subtitles of their name and their title of the program they worked on. And they're going, oh my God, Hal Puthoff. Oh my God, Jim Semivan. What is Marco Rubio doing on here?
Yeah.
Who is Eric Davis? Why is this fighter pilot Ryan Graves talking about this? Lou Elizondo.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're hearing all of this come through. And for some people, well, probably the majority of people, it may be the first time that they've never had an interest in this, but because it's at this film festival, they're going to check it out because maybe they watched a Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
No, for sure.
And they just want to see what it's about. Yes, it's about talking heads, because that's what a documentary film is talking heads. So I'm going to excuse that part of the writing about that, because obviously this writer comes from I don't believe in this standpoint.
Yeah. And you're right. And it's a good point, because just because it may not be new to us doesn't mean it's not brand new to somebody else. And good point of view. It's hard I think for people like us that have seen these and heard these stories so many times that, may be entertaining, and maybe there might be something to learn from it. But yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense that somebody that, like you say, is looking at all these names and has never got into this, said, okay, I'm going to sit down and actually watch one of these. So, yeah. But yeah, what did Jay Stratton say? What was his quote? They had a chit chat after the movie, and they were all standing up on stage, and his his thing was, how did he put it? He goes, I told the people what I saw. I told them where it is. I even gave them the address, and they were denied access to the place. Excuse me. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, I think for us, we're hoping to see something more, and like always, but
We're not getting that.
Yeah.
We're not getting that. I look at this list, and I'm going by facial recognition here for a
Right.
second, okay? Many of the people in the main photograph that they're using, Jay Stratton, Eric Davis, Ryan Graves, Tim Gallaudet, Tim Burchett is there, Gary Nolan, Hal Putoff, Jim Semivan, Dan Farah is right in the front there as well. The one thing that I have noticed with all of them, and what they all have in common, is for years they've dodged the UFO community for interviews.
okay.
They've dodged them. We've tried to get them on, not only me, but I'm talking to other shows hosts that I talk to.
Mhm.
Have tried getting these guys on, and they don't talk to us because they don't want to be part of ufology.
Mhm.
They think that we are beneath them.
Right.
Okay, on this subject, we want to talk little greed men and anal probes
Yeah.
and hybridization programs and Travis Walton and so
Right.
on and so forth. They don't want us to talk about that, and I find that very interesting. Really interesting that it kind of goes down that road. We're going to see the same footage,
Yeah.
as every other documentary the last 7 years has seen.
Mhm.
We're going to hear the same stories from David Fravor. I thought it was real.
Yeah.
That's nothing that it looked non-human to me. Ryan Graves is going to say the same thing that he said on his YouTube channel and with what he does
Mhm.
now. And I'm trying to figure out what's the point.
Yeah.
As
I
a
get it.
journalist, I need to see it.
Yeah.
I probably will see it.
Mhm.
I just don't want to see it. It doesn't excite me
No.
to see this.
No, true, and that's totally fair too. I think I'm not judging either. I'm just reading what I've read, but I'm not excited about seeing it, but I think I have to see it just cause.
Oh, I realize that. Boy, you're really barking, eh?
Man, I can't stop it. I'm drinking water like crazy. I'll be good.
All right.
There we go.
There we go.
So, you ever heard about the Minnesota UFO car?
No.
What?
Fill me in.
All right. This is kind of cool. So, 1979, strange encounter near Warren mysteriously damaged a deputy squad car. The approximate location of the crash of this car was about a half a mile from the intersection of County Road number 5 and Highway 220 near Stephen, Minnesota. Many see evidence of an extraterrestrial encounter in the cracked windshield and bent antennas of an amber-colored Ford LTD squad car permanently parked inside a museum in Warren, Minnesota. The UFO car draws visitors from around the country, some driving more than 1,000 miles to the Marshall County Historic Society Museum in a small town near North Dakota's border. People come from all over, and that's the only thing they want to see. They look at the car and away they go, said Kent Broughton, the society's president. Manuel Zuniga of St. Paul wanted to know more about Warren's UFO car after reading the book Imminent. Lou Elizondo's 2024 bestseller about his experience investigating UFOs and for the Pentagon left Zuniga wondering about strange encounters closer to home. So Zuniga reached out to the curious Minnesota, the Strib's reader-powered reporting project, to ask, what's Minnesota's local UAP story? So while more than 40 years old, the incident that damaged Marshall County Deputy Sheriff Val Johnson's car didn't get mentioned in Elizondo's book that Newsweek ranked in among modern history's most credible UFO encounters, in 2019. Everybody believed the deputy that something happened and that it wasn't anything that he did, said Broughton, a Marshall County Historical Society president. Something attacked my car. So Johnson, who was on patrol driving desolate roads west of tiny Stephen, Minnesota, in the early hours of a fall morning in 1979, when he saw a light in the sky. It was like a spotlight, he later told the Associated Press reporter. He turned off County Road 5 onto Highway 220 to check it out, thinking it was a small plane's landing lights. Then it came towards him. Val Johnson returned a few weeks later to the spot where he said he was engulfed by a flash of light. He indicated how big the beam was as it approached. It sat there and appeared to be stationary, he said. But when I got closer, boom, it was right there, just like right now. I heard glass breaking, saw the inside of the car light up, real bright with white light. It was very, very extremely bright. That's all I can remember. He lost consciousness when he came to about 40 minutes later. He radioed for help. Something just hit my car. I don't know how to explain it. It's really strange. Something attacked my car, a groggy sounding Johnson told dispatcher Pete Bauer, according to the recording of the call reported by the AP and other media in the days that followed. Are you all right? Bauer asked. I think so. I can't see very well. I don't think I'm losing any blood anywhere, Johnson said. Deputy Greg Winkowski, who was driving to the scene, called to ask Johnson what kind of vehicle hit him. It wasn't a vehicle, Greg. I don't know what the hell it was, Johnson said. Winkowski found Johnson's squad car sideways on the road with a smashed windshield and a bent antenna. The red lights on top of the car and one headlight were broken, and there was a dent in the hood. The dashboard clock on Johnson's watch had stopped for 14 minutes before starting up again. Sheriff Dennis Brake told the AP that Johnson was treated at the local hospital for welder's burns to his eyes. An investigator with the Center of UFO Studies flew in from Chicago to look into the mysterious incident and told the press that its unusual clues added up to a good case. In the days and weeks that followed, Johnson talked to the local and national press about his experience, even appearing on Good Morning America. Soon, however, he wished for the attention to blow over, telling the Associated Press that it's a terrible strain on my family. My wife's run ragged with phone calls, he said. I hope this drops in a barrel and rests quietly so we can go back to being parents and I can go back to being a little town deputy sheriff. The squad car could have been fixed up, said Broughton, the Historical Society president, but the sheriff went to the county commissioner and said, you know what this is? It's an oddity. It's never been explained, he said. We should keep it like it is. The squad vehicle ended up in the Historical Society collection, becoming known as the UFO car. In 2025, Warren celebrates its 64th anniversary of the encounter and will have a reenactment of Johnson's radio call and a kids alien costume contest. Johnson, who now lives in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, has declined the invite. In the decades following the incident, he rarely spoke publicly about it, avoiding the limelight, even as his old squad car continued to pop up in documentaries, books, and online discussion forums. Johnson didn't return a recent call for comment. In a recent telephone interview, however, he told Minnesota Public Radio that he doesn't think about the night much anymore. I saw a ball of light, he said. I drove towards it, and suddenly it was in the car with me. It's unexplainable and will remain so. I'm happy with my mental stability, the former deputy said. He looked up and told himself, well, shucks, what happened? He said. And then I shuffled on with my life.
He done.
He done.
He done. Plain and simple.
I'm over it.
Yeah. Been there, done that, not doing it again. It's all good.
You want to come to the anniversary at the museum? Nah, I'm good.
No. No. Wow.
Yeah. Reenact a radio call. Okay. How does that?
What we have to remember in these situations, we've got about a minute or so to go here, is for some people, it's very traumatic.
Oh, for sure.
And they don't want to relive it.
No.
You know, to a community like this where they can make some tourism dollars off of it.
Yeah, understood.
I understand. I wish our community where we live, because of the alien abduction here of 1989 and, you know, how haunted it is.
Yeah.
I wish our community would be way more accepting of that potential giant tourism revenue. But I also understand where people like the retired police officer here don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
They're done.
Yeah.
They had their moment and they don't want to relive it for one reason or another.
Sure.
Some people are just like, yeah, whatever. Let's just move on.
Yeah.
But other people, they don't want to do it because it brings up some scary thoughts.
Sure, absolutely. I can understand that. I perfectly understandable. But you're right. Some of these small towns and that's their, lack of a better term, a cash cow for them. And that helps with the economy in their town. And
I agree. I wish our community would do it a little bit more often as well. Space Travel Club and on X, #Space Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Space Out Radio. FOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share greeting with us. Because together, my friends,
we're watching.
Leo the Night, Mr. Bubblewood, we need a Vader. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Moon Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. There we go.
I need a mute button or so. Jesus
Dude.
crap, man.
No, wait. I've got to bring in the halls. Wednesday night, bring in like 4 packs of halls.
I gotta have a little stash of something because that's nuts. I'm fine, and all of a sudden it's like,
Oh, I know. I got it too. Right there. Right there.
side of my throat.
You bastard. You can't do that.
Sorry, everybody. Ugh.
Oh, yeah. It's all good.
Hell no. But still, it's like you can feel it coming and you're reading through it. And you're trying to lower your voice a little bit. Ricola.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Apparently, I don't know how to spell science.
Oh, well. Yeah, that's it, Bomber. That's exactly what it was. It's just a throat itch.
You're a throat itch. People look at you and you say, that guy is a throat itch if I've ever seen it.
Sounds like little Davy Jr. You guys are over at the house that night. Every time I'd say something, he'd turn around and go, "You're a crocker."
Why are you not publishing?
There it is.
Come on. You got to be kidding me right now.
No.
I don't want to publish it later. I want to publish it now. It's not allowing me to publish it. Why not? Cancel. Maybe it is and it's just frozen. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Give it a second.
Oh, no. I don't need this tonight. I'm way too fucking tired for this.
No doubt.
Yes, I accept all cookies.
I like cookies.
No, it's not on here.
Mm-mm.
Why are you not publishing? Everything is normal here. Cancel. They won't even let me cancel it.
It's frozen.
Yeah, that ain't good. Oh, hold on.
Give it a minute.
Hold on. It is. It's downloading. Just this screen is frozen.
Okay.
Okay. That's good.
Breathe. Whew. Yeah, no doubt. Oh, I should get that too. Da, 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 da. Dun, 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 dun.
It's not Tim Mothman's birthday anymore.
No.
Hasn't been for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Stop gloating, Tim.
Yeah. Build a bridge. Get over it.
Who's on tomorrow night?
Oh, I was going to say SciSwab. That's
John
awesome.
Kachuba is back. We're talking shapeshifters.
Cool.
That'll be fun. That will be really fun tomorrow night.
Yeah, we got to have quite a mix this week.
It is a good week.
Yeah, exactly what I was thinking. Shift my shit. What? Chris, teen, shift my shape.
Don't get her sometimes. Such a weirdo. I still don't understand the hyphen or the splitting of the name.
I don't know.
I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, it's easy to respond to names like that in the chat room, at least.
Well,
you just got to put the space in.
But if you put the space in, you could be causing yourself trouble.
Well, that's true.
Right? There we go. That's downloading.
Oh, good.
Close this off now.
Yeah, the wife has been recording me in my sleep.
Oh yeah. Any good conversations?
Oh no, but just
Oh yeah, man.
like
Been there.
hardcore.
Yeah.
She goes, "Yeah, I recorded you last night." I was like, "No." She goes, "And this is a mild night." I was like, "Really?" She plays it for me. I'm like, "Oh my god." She goes, "Yeah." I'm like, okay. Holy Jesus.
Well, you have to tell her to stop, taking the pillow off your face.
That's right.
Wouldn't have that issue.
What did Terry say to me last night? He goes, "Go over to the hardware store, get a hose and a face mask, and then if you go to a dive shop, just get a..." He goes, "You just MacGyver it together." So laying there beside the bed.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man. I sleep much better.
I got to. I slept God, what's today, Monday? So Saturday night, I went to bed probably, I think around 9:00. I woke up yesterday at like 7. Got out of bed, felt like I'd been hit by a truck and I hadn't slept. Went back to bed, slept till about 5:30.
Yeah.
Had a bowl of soup, farted around on the phone for a little bit, and then went to sleep until 5:00 this morning. And I got to work. I was sitting there, had a cup of coffee, and I thought I was going to fall asleep sitting there.
Oh, dude. Been there.
It's brutal.
Yep. That's how I was before I woke up to the whole CPAP thing.
Oh, man. I'm just like, I can't. This is stupid.
Yeah. 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 Just wait till that first night. You're going to be like, oh my God, I haven't slept like this in forever.
Oh, I can hardly wait. Waking up in the morning with the headache and stuff. It's like, this sucks.
Yep. That's true. That's very true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
Can't make this stuff up.
So I'll have to get something similar like yours, like you said, so you can come set it up. Because I don't know. I just went online and I was like, okay, overwhelmed like immediately. I was like, what the frick?
Yep.
Well, this is a travel one, and this is, I was like, I don't know what I'm looking at.
I just take mine with me because it comes with a carrying case so you can
pack it all up.
Well, yeah. And it's cool because you can walk right there. They don't count as carry-on an airplane.
Oh, because they're medical. Yeah.
Because they're a medical device.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? Just make an appointment. Yeah, I've got an appointment for next Monday. For next Monday. But I phoned actually back today and said, if anybody cancels, get me in this week, because the way I was feeling today, I was like, my God, man.
My machine is only about this big.
Yeah. They quiet though?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't hear a thing.
Good. It's like in the summer, we've got a humidifier in the house.
Yeah.
And that thing keeps me awake.
No, this is silent, man. The only thing you hear is until you start breathing in, you the hardest part that you'll have is retraining yourself to breathe at night through your nose.
Oh, yeah.
And I still struggle with that.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I usually always...
Yeah, that was one of the hardest things for me, was doing that at night. Is because I was a big mouth sleeper.
Yeah.
And now I notice that I've retrained myself, even though I catch myself still sleeping or walking around breathing through my mouth. I am using my nose a lot more.
Right.
I'm actually excited for you.
Yeah. If it works, man, I will be thinking. Yeah.
Oh,
I'm sure it will work. I should say.
Yeah. Christine is a snorer too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She likes a good snore, she's saying.
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe how brutal it is. I'm because I'm sleeping, but
yeah. You don't notice it, dude.
no.
You don't notice it.
Well, even a buddy of mine at work said the same thing. He goes, he's got one, and he says, do you realize he was waking up 23 times a night, but he didn't know he was waking up? I was like, what do you mean? He goes, I didn't know I was waking up. He said, he went to a clinic and they wired him up.
Yeah.
And yeah, he said, 25 times he woke up. He says, but I didn't know that I woke up. He says, but I felt like crap in the morning, like I always do. I was like, really?
Because you never give your body that chance to sleep.
Yeah.
You know? Oh, dude, within a day, you'll notice a difference.
No, it's good.
Yeah. Within a day.
That's good. I'm looking forward to it. Remember when you're a kid and you just go to sleep and you just go to sleep, wake up in the morning, you're like, ding.
I hated going to bed as a kid.
Me too.
I still hate going to bed. I do. If I could technically be awake 24 hours a day, I would totally do it.
Yeah. Right now, I would disagree. I think it's just because I'm tired.
You're old.
I'm ancient.
You're crotchety.
I'm crotchety and crusty. Yeah. But no, even when I was a kid, when I got tired, and I was like, okay. Yeah, I like crawling into bed.
There is something to say though when you crawl into bed and you got like your bed is made and you got like fresh sheets.
Oh,
that's a nice feeling. It's like a new pair of socks.
Oh, yeah, 100%. That's my favorite too. Brand new pair of socks. We talked about that like Christmas.
Yeah.
Damn straight.
Love a good new pair of socks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I used to like it when I was a kid too, when you'd go from summer. I don't know about you, but my mom went from we went from summer sheets to winter sheets. So you went from those cotton sheets to those flannel sheets.
Flannel sheets are the best.
Yeah. You get in there and you was like, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice and warm. You'd be like, oh, that's perfect.
Been watching season 3 of Reacher.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
I like that show.
Isn't it good?
Anthony Michael Hall looks old, man.
Oh, I know. He's not. He's younger than what? Younger than me.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, a lot of us are.
Yeah. It's so funny. You were in the Breakfast Club, man. You were a dork.
Right? He looks completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like he morphed into something else.
Well, he did because he had some pretty bad experiences, apparently. Hollywood experiences. Not like the Corey Feldmans and stuff like that. But yeah, he just,
15 years ago today, Corey Haim died.
15 years ago?
Yeah. Of an overdose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. It doesn't seem that long ago. Yeah, Corey Haim.
Good Canadian kid, too.
Yep. Yeah, I think there was something going on. I think when Michael Anthony Hall was filming Vacation, he was staying at, I think, the same hotel that Janis Joplin died at. they come back. That was what it was. They had to come back and refilm the ending. And he was witness to something really horrific.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And he didn't want to stay, and he didn't want to be an actor anymore or something. And yeah,
that's terrible.
He's never talked about it, but besides, I mean, there was quite something to do with a dealer and a bunch of bad guys and a lot of shooting and pointy sticks and stuff going on. And not that he was involved. He was just kind of in the middle of it, is what they suspected. And yeah, he walked out. He had to walk over the bodies to get out of there or something.
Yeah.
And it just freaked him right out, I guess so. Yeah, somebody brought it up on a TV show and a talk show, and I saw it, and he got choked. I know what you're trying to do. And you're not going to get some sensationalism up from my, from my tragedy. And I was like, whoa, like, holy cow, dude.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. On that note, we're going to shut this down.
All right.
Call it the night.
Yep.
Big thank you to Major League ×2 and T-Bone for the great super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Tomorrow night on the show, John Kachuba, once again, we'll be talking about shapeshifters. And for the rest of you, be gentle out there. Be nice. And we'll see you all tomorrow night. Don't forget, if you're thinking about it, a couple of events coming up. Just a couple weeks' time, I'll be in San Francisco for UFOCon 2025. Go to UFOCon2025.com to get your tickets. You can come hang out with me, Kira, gorgeous Kim Jellin and her teeth, and many others that will be there. And then in April, I will be in Nebraska, Grand Island, Nebraska, for a Nebraska Bigfoot Conference. I got to get started on that project here pretty quick. Yeah. And from there, the following week, we'll be in Vegas, May 1st to 5th, for just a hangout session, SOR hangout session.
Yeah.
With Merle, Dave, Tim's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Tim will wave to you in Vegas.
I will.
Yeah, he will. And we're going to have a great time there as well. All right, everyone. Thank you very much. We'll talk to you tomorrow night.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.